This bike hasn't been started in 5+ years. Most dirt bikes that have been sitting this long don't need anything major, but they do need the right things in the right order. And in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that so that your bike starts after it's been sitting without ruining the engine. From my experience, the #1 issue why a dirt bike that's been sitting won't start or run properly is because of bad gas. What makes gas bad? Well, usually from sitting for so long, whether it has ethanol in it or not. But if cars can sit for 5 years and still start, why can't this dirt bike? Good question. And it's usually because the fuel system, because most dirt bikes, well, maybe not all of them anymore, but a lot of them still have a carburetor, and it's the small passages and jets in them that get clogged up. If you pull this cap off, you look inside and you smell the gas. Ugh. Usually smells like old paint varnish. If you know what gas smells like and you smell this and it does not smell like that, then it's old and it needs to be not only replaced, but the fuel system usually needs to be cleaned out before you put fresh stuff in. Otherwise, when you put the new stuff in, it's gonna mix with the old stuff and probably cause problems again. But even if you get the fuel system clean, if you want this to run reliably for many hours to come, there's 2 more things that need attention. #1 is the engine. It needs some fresh oil. This has been sitting for 5 years and it's probably really dirty. So that needs to be dumped and changed, as well as the air filter, because it's likely dirty and or falling apart. And if you got dirt being sucked through the air filter, through the carb, to the engine, that's gonna wear out the engine a lot faster. So you need a fresh air filter and for it to be properly oiled. Because if it's not oiled or not well enough, then you're gonna be sucking in more dirt, causing more wear and tear. This oil actually looks pretty clean and it's full, so I'm gonna wait to change it until after we get the bike running. But if it were really black or sludgy or low, I would wanna change it before I start it to prevent excessive wear and tear on first startup. The first thing you gotta do is pull the carb off, and some bikes are a little bit harder than others. This one's pretty easy to access. You gotta loosen up the carb clamp here, and then I'll remove it either with or without this intake elbow. You can take these bolts off here or here. Then you also have to take off the throttle cap as well as the fuel line up here. And when you're working on a Japanese dirt bike, which that is a Honda, you wanna have JIS screwdrivers. You can get some from Tusk. JIS is simply a special tip that makes it easier to remove and install the screws because it has the proper size tip. It's not going to strip as easily. Pulling the seat off can give you better access at the tank and fuel system. Now we got easy access to the carb here. Got everything loose. Now remove the fuel line from the carb. Then twist off the throttle slide cap. And there's the throttle slide and the needle. And here's the itty bitty carb. We'll be taking this apart and cleaning it. But before you go any further, you want to plug that up. Just use a paper towel or a small rag or something. First thing to do with the carb is pull the float bowl off. It's usually 2 to 4 screws on the bottom here. And a lot of people, they like to save time by just buying a cheap $25, $30 Amazon or eBay carb, but I don't like to do that. I don't like the quality of cheap knockoff carbs, so I really like the OEM reliability, so I'm gonna keep the OEM carb. I'm gonna rebuild it so that it stays reliable. Just cleaning and replacing any parts that are worn out. Start taking more stuff apart for cleaning and inspection. Got the float, the pin, and the needle here. You want to inspect that needle. If it's grooved, if there's a groove on it, it needs to be replaced. Make sure you're using a proper size screwdriver. That one is not quite wide enough, because if it's too small or too big, it's gonna strip out the head and it's gonna be hard to install or remove the jet. Here we go. That is a 58. We got the choke here. Make sure it opens and closes properly. And here's the air mixture screw. Let's see what it's set at. This controls the jetting at idle to roughly quarter turn throttle response. So I'm going to turn it in. So I go half, 1, 1.5, 2. It was 2 turns out. So we'll take this out. It should have a spring on it. And there's the spring. Just goes like that. When you're looking through the jet, you want to make sure it's clean and clear. See that? It's got a nice round hole in it. That means it's not completely clogged up. If it was completely clogged, you wouldn't see any light through that. Sometimes it can be partially clogged, and that also causes it to not start or not run or idle very well. I forgot that the XR50 carb, it only has a main jet. Most carbs have a pilot jet and a main jet at the minimum. Either way, you want to clean all of the jets, inspect them, and then you also want to clean through all of these passages. One thing that you need to know before you clean your carb, do not just spray carb cleaner in it. That can ruin stuff, especially these rubber O-rings. The chemical in carb cleaner will ruin these gaskets and will cause your bike to run poorly very quickly, especially if it's a more complex carburetor where there's like mid-body O-rings and gaskets. While the carb is cleaning, we want to take this gas tank off, and we want to pull the petcock off, or the fuel valve. Pull that out. Make sure the filter, the pre-filter in there isn't disintegrated, because if that is, dirt and debris is just going to flow right into the carb, and that'll cause a lot of intermittent headaches, causing you to throw tools across the garage because you don't know what's going on. First, drain all the fuel into a bucket, and then you can just remove these 2 8mm screws on here. And we got the moment of truth here. Pull this out. Oh my goodness. Yep. That has disintegrated. Well, it's going to postpone this rebuild. I'll have to order another one. So you're going to want to rinse the tank out, dump some gas in there, slosh it around, drain it, do that a couple times until no junk is coming out of here, and then get a new petcock, because this, it's just going to keep crumbling apart, and that's just going to go straight through the fuel line into your carb, clogging it up, and it's not going to run right. We're just going to quick scrub some of this down. It's pretty nasty. This has never been cleaned in 25 plus years underneath here anyway. I know, because this was my first dirt bike and I did pretty much all the maintenance on it. Basically just change the oil and add some gas. If you're looking for a quick way to diagnose why your dirt bike won't start, I do have a free cheat sheet. It goes through the top most likely problems that are causing it not to start. You can download that in the description below. Before we put the carb back on, we're going to remove the air box. Not much of an air box on this little bike. And you can remove these screws to get the air filter out. See how bad it is. It's either going to be really bad or really good. Can't remember when I replaced it. Oh, let's see if it falls apart. Come on now. And push it from the other end, maybe. Nope, there's a screen there. Alright, so yeah, that's not that bad. This is definitely cleanable. It's not falling apart like a recent air filter I did. I do have some air filter cleaner, but we'll just see how clean I can get it in this warm water and Simple Green. It's better, but I think we'll still use my air filter cleaner. Dump some of this filter cleaner in there. Stir it around a little bit. And throw our air filter in there. soak it or rinse it in clean water and then squeeze it dry. You don't want to twist it because that could tear it. Now that it's dry, we can get some air filter oil on it. This stuff is really nasty, really sticky, but that's good because when it's all on the air filter, that's gonna catch the dirt before it goes into the engine. It's like little sticky hands grabbing at the dirt. Because if there's no oil or not enough, there's going to be more open space and not enough oil to catch that dirt, so it's going to wear out your engine faster. However, if you put too much oil on, there's not going to be enough air flowing through the air filter, so your bike's going to run poorly. It's going to run too rich because it's getting too much fuel and not enough air. So how do you know what's enough? Now you dump some oil on there. You squeeze it in, and if you can still see whatever color the oil isn't on here, the original foam color, there's not enough oil on there, and it should be on both sides. So you need a little bit more oil there. You really gotta rub it in there, and if you have too much, you'll be able to squeeze it, and you'll see oil coming out of it like that. And then you want to have a nice oil bucket underneath so it'll drip down into there. Like that. Nice and sticky, icky, gooey, nasty. Make sure you wear good gloves for this. Got the air filter back in there. Make sure you get that clip back on there. Shove it back on the bike. Actually, we could probably wait on this. That way it'll make easier, it'll make getting the carb back on easier. Sometimes you gotta think ahead to make it an easier job for you. Now I can get this back on there. Hello. Make sure it's dry because you don't want water to corrode this and seize it up. Shove this on there. Intake manifold spacer here, and the bolt's ready. Oh, gotta switch the airbox over. There we go. Now it fits. All right, we got the tank all rinsed out. Old filter that was here just disintegrated. It came off pretty easily. Here's the new filter. Well, I was going to use these nice new shiny bolts, but it's bottoming out there. You can see that the threads are longer, so we're going to use the shorter OEM ones so it actually fits. Alright, your balance bike. One major thing you can do to prevent the carb from gumming up from bad gas is using an inline fuel filter. So instead of using this whole thing going down to the carb, you just cut a piece or a section out and you put the filter right there so that it stops any of the junk from going into the carb. There we go. We got the new fuel line, the filter, and then I'll be cutting off whatever extra there is once it reaches the carb without like binding, pinching like that. We don't want that because that'll starve it of fuel and you'll be wondering, what in the world? Why is this running lean? All right, slap the tank on here. Cut a section of the fuel line off, hook it up to the carb inlet. You can slide these plastics back on there.
What you doing?
Getting this back together. Now we'll get some fresh non-ethanol fuel. Half full. Spin that on there, and I can't forget the gas vent hose there. Nice. So we'll turn the engine switch on, turn the key on, turn the petcock on, and turn the choke on for a cold start. All right, we got the moment of truth here. Is this going to start? Gas on, choke on, everything on. I'm gonna do one test kick over, make sure everything turns over okay. All right, how many kicks? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go. 1. Ooh, almost. 2. Almost. Maybe I need to turn the idle up. 3. Let's do a little less choke. What was that, 4 kicks? There we go. Nice and quiet. Oh, nope. Need to warm it up a little bit. Wow, this thing is quiet. All right, just turn the idle in about half a turn. Oh, gotta turn the switch back on. Definitely helped. Now it's idling too high. Oh, too low. It's a very fine line between too high and too low. Well, that doesn't sound very good. Maybe it just needs to warm up a little bit. Revs out pretty good though. All right, let's go for a quick test ride now that it's a little bit warmer. Just to clarify, a few things to keep in mind when restoring or freshening up a bike that's been sitting a while. Number 1, check the fuel system. If it's been sitting for years, there's a good chance that the tank is dirty, the filter inside is going to be dirty and needs to be replaced. Get it all out, rinse it out, clean it with gas. If you can, add an inline fuel filter, maybe even need a new fuel line. Clean the carb, take it all apart, make sure the jets are clean, make sure all the passages are clear. Number 2, make sure the air filter is clean. If it's dirty, clean it, use proper oil. If it's falling apart, replace it. Number 3, check oil before you even try starting it. If there's low oil, you're more likely to do damage. So make sure it's full, make sure it's clean. And if it doesn't start, you want to check the spark plug. If the spark plug is fouled, replace it. If it's getting no spark, well then you got an electrical issue and you need to start going through each electrical thing one at a time. Man, this brings back some memories of when I first started riding, actually right here in this driveway, but it didn't look like this. It was snowing and probably like 10 degrees. Thank you, Dad, for getting me into dirt bikes. All right, we got this started and idling somewhat consistently. It's not ideal because if your kid is going to ride this, if you're training a new rider, you want it to run perfect, because if it's inconsistent, if it's bogging, if it has a hanging idle, it like keeps accelerating, that's not going to build confidence in your new or young rider. You want this bike running totally smooth. So stay tuned for the next video on tuning the jetting on this, even though there isn't that much to tune on here. I'm Kelly Fagan from MXHideout. Stop surviving, start riding.